Hey guys, Dizzler Magic here, and it's finally time to reveal my insanely powerful deck. Now you guys know on my channel, I tend to just upload decks that I think are fun, or it's like, hey, if you like Landfall, run this. This is cool. Landfall's fun. I'm not saying it's the best deck ever made in the human history, okay? I don't give a crap about the pro scene, the pro meta, any of that, okay? Once in a while, when net decking gets out of control, or I really am pissed off by one net deck, goblins, I will build a net deck assassin deck. This kind of started as that, unfortunately. But, you know, I'm all about the 99% of MTG players who don't give a crap about Grand Prix and Pro Tours. They don't want to play hyper top level tier 1 competitive. They just want to play Magic and have fun. I mean, what a freaking concept. All those YouTubers who just cover nothing but like the Pro Tour, the top decks, what's popular now, what's number 1, what's number 2. Do you not realize that you're alienating like 95 to 99% of the players of Magic? So you're going to attract like 100 actual legitimate pros that play Magic professionally. No, you aren't. They aren't going to be watching your YouTube channel. Sorry. And then a bunch of pro wannabes, aka net deckers, bunch of net deck chasers, you know, tournament chasing douchebags. So have fun with that community. They're not toxic at all. But I like to upload fun decks, but once in a while I come up with something just insane. I mean, Gravity Bomb is just mental. Mr. Nibbles was one of the most powerful decks I've ever built. That deck was insane. But then if you look at like my Cyborgs deck, that's just like, I like equipment. The end. It's not that good of a deck. Like, it can win on turn 4. It's actually kind of funny. But other than that, it's just, you know, if you're into that kind of thing, run it. It's a good deck. It's a solid deck. It's playable. You're not going to go 0-4 or 0-5 with it, but it probably isn't going to 4-0 either. You know, that's my channel. Welcome to my channel. This deck, however, is pretty nuts. I mean, this isn't like, whoa, nobody thought of this. It's so amazing. Probably somebody did think of this, honestly. But the deck costs quite a bit to build. I mean, it's probably still under 100, but it's not insignificant. But it is competitive, and I know that because I did nothing but play like 100 humans in a row on X-Mage, and I had like a 90% win rate. I mean, the people that kept beating me were the ones running really weird out of left field decks. Like one guy was running Red Land Destruction, and he just stomped me by getting rid of all my black sources. I mean, didn't see that coming. But anybody running red, white, blue control loop, oh, did they get punished by this deck. Anybody running white, black removal control or white, black, blue draw removal control, they got just demolished by this deck. This deck was built specifically to beat them. You might have gathered that from the title because the name of the deck is Fine, Kill It. Kind of really says it all, doesn't it? If they start removing your creatures, they lose. If they don't start removing your creatures, they lose. Can you see why this deck's kind of powerful? So yes, this is highly competitive. I would not say, oh, this is the best deck. This is on par with tier 1. But in the meta, it is competitive. So once in a while, I build a deck like that. It just happens on accident, I assure you. But no joke, like Mr. Nibbles 2.0, I already got half the deck list done. Little preview for you. All right, so let's show what's in this beast of a deck. Got Swamps and Forests. Yeah, it's a black-green deck, so, you know, that's fun. Because Blooming Marshes are like, I don't know, $9-10 a piece. Thanks, Black-Green Delirium. Hissing Quagmires, they ain't great. I think they're at least 4 or 5 a piece, maybe 6. Tireless Tracker's not exactly cheap. Nissa, very expensive. I think at least 10 a piece. The rest is completely and utterly worthless, which is kind of funny. So, also, almost the entire deck is from BFZ. Like, not even OGW, literally just BFZ. So this is like BFZ 2.0. So hopefully you guys have some of these cards, although all the BFZ ones are like the commons and they ain't worth anything. So whatever. So we got Swamps, we got Forests, we got Evolving Wilds. That's for Revolt. Blisterpod, obviously also for Revolt. It is a 1/1, and when it dies, it generates a Scion. So a little 2-for-1 special. It's not like, oh, cool, I can block with it once, boy, I hope they kill it. I'm going to swing with it until they do kill it. No, this deck uses Sacrifice. So then we got Carrier Thrall, basically the same damn thing. I mean, it's a 2/1 for 2, it's black, and when it dies, you put out a Scion. So another double death trigger, and another double chump blocker. I mean, everything in this deck has like 2 purposes. Rot Shambler. Ooh, now you can see where it's getting fun. Whenever another creature you control dies, Notice it didn't say non-token, whoopsies, put a 1/1 counter on Rot Shambler. So it is a 1/1 for 2, so it takes a little while to get big, but I mean, you'll see in some of the gameplay footage how nuts this gets. I mean, you'll be swinging with a 10/10 in no time, especially with Vampiric Rites, which only costs 1. This is one of the most overlooked cards in BFZ. It's insane. So you get it out there for 1. Nobody runs Enchantment Destruction. If they do, who cares? You probably draw 2. This deck is so draw heavy, you might actually deck yourself. Pay 2, sacrifice a creature. You gain 1 life and draw a card. Now notice that the casting cost of this whole deck is nothing. So you're just gonna draw, lifelink, life gain, death trigger, giant creature, drain away. Speaking of drain away, Zulaport. Whenever Zulaport Cutthroat or another creature, notice it didn't say non-token again, whoops. Whenever it dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. In 1 blocking assignment, on the opponent's turn, I killed them with Zulaport triggers. I just quadruple blocked 1, triple blocked the other. All 3 Zulaports died along with a bunch of other crap. And then I think I don't know, used the sacrifice on something else that couldn't block, or I don't remember. I cut Scrap Heap out of here. You could put him back in though in the place of Tireless. Pretty funny actually, because they took 18 damage and they had 17 life. It was 17-3 and they were swinging for the win. Yeah, they made a mistake. They didn't do the math. So this Zulaport is basically one of the best black creatures in BFC. It's insane. Then we got Narnam Renegade. So this is where Revolt comes in, because when something died, you want, first of all, you want some damn damage in the deck. So Revolt, duh. And secondly, if stuff's dying, you might as well run Revolt. So it's a 1/2 Death Toucher for 1, which is already amazing, but if something died already this turn at the time that this enters the battlefield, then put a 1/1 counter on it, so it becomes a 2/3. So if you had to throw this out there without the counter, not the end of the world. I'm so sick of people holding this card and just waiting for the extra 1 when you could have had it on the field and swinging 3 turns ago. That is just bad magic. Then we got Catacomb Sifter. This one's a little weird. It is cool that it's on color, I guess. When it enters the battlefield as a 2/3 for 3, you automatically get a Scion. So you're probably thinking, oh, a little Scion dumper. Okay, it's not flying, it's not unblockable, it's not ingest, whatever. But whenever another creature, once again, does not say non-token, whenever another creature you control dies, scry 1. That is a game-winning engine right there. But because it costs 3, I only put in 3. They're not that important. It also doesn't force sacrifice. There is a black-green Eldrazi that costs 5 that does do that. It just doesn't work. Costing 5 in this deck is a little much. Then we've got Indulgent Aristocrat. Boom, lifelink 1/1 for 1. Throw it out there, dirt cheap. If you have to sack it, fine. You can chump block, then sack with Vampiric, whatever. But I needed more ways to sacrifice stuff, because it's not all Scions in this deck. Some of it's Carrier, Thrall, and Blisterpod. So you have to be able to kill them at will. And if you can't, the deck shuts down. So, boom, pay 2, sacrifice a creature, put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. He's 1. That's about it. Unfortunately. Not a lot of tribal synergy going on here. Then we got, the Blooming Marsh, Hissing Quagmire. Those are expensive, unfortunately. This one's huge. 2/2 black and green elemental with Death Touch. I mean, they're going to forget this is out there. People still do that. I know. It does cost 3 to activate. Not that bad. And it does come in tapped. That is that bad. But a lot of times you can swing with this. I mean, you can chump block. Then if you absolutely had to, you're getting land flooded, just sack this and keep the draw going. It's just flexible. It's really good. I would not cut it. Then we got Tireless Tracker. He's in there just for the attack power, the card draw, and the revolt triggers. So he's a little 3-for-1 special. He's also a 3/2 for 3. He's cool. If you really wanted to streamline the deck and you really didn't care about Revolt, you could replace him. He is actually the least important card in the deck, I would say. Maybe Nissa, though, because you'll see what she does. Then we got Greenwheel Liberator. This one's huge. I mean, it's a 2/1 for 2, which is not good, but with Revolt, it has 2 counters on it. So it comes out as a 4/3 for 2. Hello. So between Evolving Wild, Scions, sack on at will, sack at will, you should be able to get Revolt going. And sometimes you could drop like 2 of these and 1 of these on the same turn, and all of a sudden, whoopsies, we've got 2, 4 attack power and then 4 more 8. Whoa. Then why not Nissa? She's a 3 loyalty planeswalker for 3. Double green is a little bit tough, but I got a lot of fixing in here. Her +1 is pretty funny because it's just so coincidentally synergistic. Put a 0/1 green plant creature token onto the battlefield. Just straight up drop out some useless little chump blocking piece of garbage, and you're going to use Vampiric Rites or the self-sack on this one. Or not self-sack, the other creature sack. So it's just there to keep your card draw going, chump blockers, whatever. But in case of emergency, if you can't get out Vampiric or Indulgent, -2. Put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Simple. So you get out like 2, 3, 4 plants, and then you just drop counters on them, and now they're actually formidable, especially if you drove her way up to like 6, and then you just -2, -2, -2. And this deck can stall out for turns and turns and turns. Her -7 is pretty nuts too. You gain X life and draw X cards, where X is the number of lands you control. In this deck, it just keeps drawing lands unless you have Catacomb Sifter out and you keep scrying stuff to the bottom. Then it doesn't. Well, scrying lands to the bottom, because usually you don't need lands. But if you can get enough lands on the battlefield, you can activate this ability on Vampiric like 5 times in a turn. So sometimes you do need to step on the gas with more creatures and more creatures and more creatures. But I don't know, if you've got a lot of them on the battlefield already, you can just sit there and use Catacomb Sifter to, draw lands on purpose instead. So the deck really just works. That's all there is to it. You're looking at it. It's basically redundant. There's at least 2 cards that do everything, if not 3. So there's like 3 or 4 ways to activate Revolt. There's 2 different creatures that have Revolt. There's Death Trigger, and then technically Death Trigger, but really Death Trigger, as far as damage. And then these are like, you have to kill me twice, perfect sacrifice targets. So multiple ways to do everything. Like I said, the one that doesn't fit is Tireless Tracker, but clues, hello, extra cards. You get tons of mana with this deck, usually, just from sheer card draw, blind draw. And then he himself becomes powerful, so he's a lightning rod for removal. And, Nissa, it's like, oh, she generates a token over and over and over that you didn't have to pay for. Okay, mana-wise, that's pretty good value. She takes the focus off of you, which is unnecessary because of the amount of life gain you have, but you add them together and whoa. The counters are nice, though. It's completely not within what the deck does, though, because you're supposed to, like, get these killed, get your scions killed, and get the plants killed. So why would you put counters on them? But it's a nice backup plan. It really is. Plus, when you have 2 Nissas and you like -2/1 and then drop in another one and -2 again, you could win with that swing. It's that good. So the deck is so simple. The one thing that people keep screwing up, by people I mean me, is missing the scry trigger. Do not forget the scry death trigger. And you can put the triggers on the stack, because whenever something dies, you usually have 2 to 3 to 4 triggers at once. You can put them in whatever order you want. So you definitely want to, scry first, then draw the card from this trigger or from the ability. So usually you can do that. The death happens first, and then it's part of the cost. So of course it happens first, then you resolve the ability on the bottom of the stack. So if you're confused, just jump on Xmage, which is this program I'm using right here, and play it completely for free. So I'll be uploading some gameplay versus the AI just to show the interactions, the triggers, how they stack up, what to keep, what not to keep, just completely one-sided play. Of course I'm going to win. And then hopefully, and this is a long shot, because boy does it keep screwing up, I might get one complete game against a human where they don't fall asleep, disconnect, take 800 years to hit done every time, crash the game, or, have a card not work, or a trigger not work, or a misclick because there's too many spectators, or usually to upload one game against a human, it takes 10 tries, which is like 3 to 4 hours. That's why I usually just show off how the deck works, not here is proof that it can beat a human, because, well, it can, take my word for it, it did. Hey, I have an idea for those of you who post, I don't believe you, that deck doesn't look good. Freaking play the deck, build the damn deck and play it. Duh. The like 80 to 90% win rate that I had on X-Mage over like 50 to 100 games, if that doesn't impress you or prove to you that the deck works, then you're just an idiot. You're in denial. You live in some fantasy world. Anyway, totally forgot about the sideboard, so let's talk about that. For the sideboard, we've got Lost Legacy. I absolutely hate one thing about this card, but otherwise this should be in every black deck sideboard. It's a sorcery, it's double black, which should be a sign that it's hyper powerful. Costs 3, so it's very reasonable. Name a non-artifact. That's where I have a problem. Torrential Gearhulk. Come on. Anyway, name a non-artifact, non-land card, search target player's graveyard, hand, and library. So you get to see their whole hand, by the way. For any number of cards with that name, and exile them. That player shuffles his or her library. Then, unfortunately, they draw a card for each card exiled from hand this way. If you could burn out Torrential Gearhulk, Red, White, Blue literally could not win. That stupid draw repetitive deck with Glimmer and frickin' Anticipate. Without Torrential, they have no attack power, especially against this deck where you're swinging against like a 7/7 Rot Shambler, which honestly would stop one anyway. So, yeah, wish you could target it, but it's a artifact, so that's annoying. Also, Dynavolt Tower. Oops, can't get rid of that either. But if they are running something annoying, like, I don't know, Harnessed Lightning... Maybe, well, you could name Anticipate or Glimmer. A lot of people, when you hit that, they'll just forfeit, unfortunately. Then, of course, we got Fatal Push. I mean, if it looks like they're running some cheap mana crap and you need to blow it up, good for you. Because you can see this deck has no removal in it because there is no room for it. There's no opponent death triggers. Yes, the card exists, but you'd be running a completely different deck at that point. This deck just, I don't care how much you hit me, what you hit me with, or when you hit me, I'm going to blow it up, or I'm going to ambush it, or I'm going to chump block it, then sacrifice. So you just kill them with lifelink, you know, and non-stop life gain, non-stop hitting their life total, and non-stop death triggers that just drain away their life. So you don't really need to remove their stuff, but if you do, there's Fatal Push. And you might want to run Murder or Ruinous Path as well. I put in Cemetery Recruitment. This might seem kind of confusing to people, but... return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If it's a zombie card, which it isn't, draw a card. That is to bring back Zulaport, because if they keep killing Zulaport and they're running control heavy, you might start to lose because you can't swing against them because they've got too big of creatures sometimes, or they use, you know, swing deterrents like Immolating Glare and Blessed and all that. So you might find yourself needing Zulaport back on the field. And once they finally, you know, got the removal spell, because your deck's running almost none of it, and blew up your one and only Zulaport, you just bring it back. I mean, especially for 2. I mean, yeah, why not? And the other one is Mind Rot. Just solely because Red, White, Blue sucks and I hate them. Right when they get down to 2 cards and you know that they're both Anticipate and Glimmer, you can nuke it. But sometimes they have the mana and they'll just immediately cast it. So that's why there's only 3 of it. I don't know. I might take some of this and swap it out for kill spells. I mean, just straight up removal. Like, you could just do Flaying Tendrils, Yahenni's Expertise, and then 2 single removals or something. But the problem is, can you really put in 8 cards? No, you can't. I mean, what would you possibly pull without breaking the entire deck? It can't be done. The most you can pull is Trackers and Nissa. It's 6 cards. Anything else... whole deck falls apart. Maybe Catacomb Sifter, but you really do need that Scry, and you really do need the extra Scion generation just for the passive I'm going to sack it whenever I want and the mana ramp. So, I don't know. Can't really pull anything else. I hate decks where you can't sideboard, but at least I tried. So, like I said, concept sideboard, balance sideboard, and bad sideboard. Those are your 3 options. This is a bad sideboard. So, oh well, nothing you can do about it. So hopefully you guys will build this deck if you got the money or you got the cards, and I think it'll work out for you. So see you guys next video.